All right, my beautiful people, this is ERGJ. I'm back here with the propaganda machine breakdown. That's part two on the July 13th, 2016. Got a couple things that are coming up that I'll probably tell you about in the next day or so. But I wanted to talk today about some things that I found. And we're going to pick up on a couple stories in the news to kind of help you guys again to understand that a lot of what you read and see is all propaganda by mainstream media. And so let's go. Let's get right into it, man. I know you don't want to look at my face. Let's get right into what we're going to talk about today. So first, I wanted to let you know that propaganda itself is actually legal. The NDAA allows the U.S. government to use propaganda against Americans. So what does that mean, guys? The United States government has unbound illegal regulations against using propaganda against foreign audiences and American citizens. The intention is to sway public opinion by using television, radio, newspapers, and social media targeting the American and foreign people in controlled psyops. So when people start talking about like conspiracy theories, well, the reality is you should, at this point in time, we can be very skeptical about anything that comes across our pathways via television, radio, newspapers, or social media, and we can question it. Because the government it's legal for them to lie to us at the end of the day. Now, this law was passed back in 2012, a bill that was passed, and these laws make the amendment aided the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, has passed an implementation as of this month, and this was July of 2013. So government using propaganda, which is to sway the opinion of the public, is legal. So it's legal for them to lie to us. It's legal for them to do. So once you understand that, then you can go on and you start saying, okay, well, have they been lying to me? Or are there some things that's kind of funny? Or what are some things that I might want to look into a little bit more? So I'm going to go into the news again later on today. I did one earlier today. I'm going to do one tonight, and that's this one. And we're still following the narrative, kind of following the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests, coming back from 5 cops being shot, whatever it is that you want to research. This is what I focus on because this is the hot topic now. We got a serial killer. That'd be interesting. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I have to research that a little bit. But over here, I'm looking at these top stories, and the first thing that kind of popped out to me was here. Protesters shut down a freeway. So this is a protest. I wanted to see, okay, where is this thing happening? Oh, it's happening in Minneapolis. Minneapolis is the place where the Castile case, where the Castile guy got shot by a cop. So there are protesters that shut down the Minneapolis freeway during rush hour. Oh, they weren't fun. That wasn't fun at all. So let's see what happened, guys. So they say at least 41 people were arrested in a rush hour protest that briefly shut down Interstate 35 Minneapolis. More than 40 people of various races spilled onto I-35 West Wednesday morning to protest the death of Philando Castile, who was fatally shot by a police officer during a July 6th traffic stop in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. Okay. So we know where it is. Here's some pictures of what's going on. Basically, the protesters called themselves non-Black allies. They basically just kind of, parked their cars across the street and sat there. So we got some video that'll come up. I don't really want to play this. So let me pause. I don't know. I hate those pop-ups. So at any rate, so here's what I found interesting. It says, using cars to block traffic, they took over the southbound lanes as they held hands and chanted Black Lives Matter. These are non-Black allies. Non-Black allies were responsible for the action, said Nikema Levy-Pounds, president of the Minneapolis NAACP. Now you got to ask yourself, if these are non-Black allies and they're chanting Black Lives Matter, well, why in the heck is Nikema Levy-Pounds NAACP getting questioned about what's going on here? That stuck out to me, which has organized rallies and protests since Castile's death. So she has been organizing rallies and protests, apparently, as the president of the NAACP, and people are going around chanting Black Lives Matter. So it looks like they're connecting NAACP to Black Lives Matter, which is not a big deal, but I'll show you why that's important. So the protest backed up traffic about 5 miles, and then it goes to talk about it. They arrested people. Troopers arrested 41 people on the highway after about an hour and impounded 4 vehicles used to block traffic. The freeway reopened around 9:15. Now, who is this Nikema Levy Pounds person? Obviously, she's the president of the Minneapolis NAACP, and that's where she stands. But we'll also see that when we look up Black Lives Matter in Wikipedia, that she is also, let's see here. Let's see here. I don't know why I didn't have it already on there. I'm just skimming. She's also right here. Currently, here, other Black Lives Matters leaders include Nikema Levy Pounds. So not only is she's now the president of the NAACP, she has ties to Black Lives Matter. And if we go ahead and look her up and what the Wikipedia says about her, clearly she's the incumbent president for the Minneapolis NAACP. Now, isn't that interesting? She goes from Black Lives Matter movement and getting pushed on up to being the president of the NAACP. Good job. Is that a coincidence? I think not. So she's president of NAACP. She has served and founded a variety of organizations that focus on issues of racial equality and disparity in the Minneapolis area. And then it goes on to say down here that in December 2014, Levy Pounds participated in Black Lives Matter for protests against police brutality. Now, it told us that she was a leader before, but when we come over to her page, it says that she participated, but we know that she was a leader of the Black Lives Matter movement since 2014, and she's been promoted to the president of Minneapolis NAACP. So there's a connection here between Nikema Levy Pounds, NAACP president, and then Black Lives Matter. So instead of them having someone for Black Lives Matter that did this interview, Nikema Levy Pounds got selected because she is connected to all of this as well. And it'll be no surprise, guys, that these non-Black allies are, even though they're not Black, obviously they're telling us that they're allies. So they are part of the Black Lives Matter movement. Don't think that Black Lives Matter is all Black. They've got plenty of people. This is an organization that is in about 20 different cities. They got a lot of different chapters. This thing is well funded. You need to do your research on the Black Lives Matter movement, but understand that it's not just all Black people. They've got all different types of people that are working with this organization that are pushing the agenda forward. And this is just one more thing to piss the people off in Minneapolis. They understand what their protest guidelines are. They know they shouldn't be protesting on the highway. But here's the thing. It had to be non-Black allies, because if they were Black, it would have been some shooting going on early in the morning in Minneapolis. Just keep it real. But because they're non-Black, they all got arrested, impounded the cars, and went on about their merry way. But just imagine if they were Black people sitting out on the highway, instead of having all these cops here in these yellow garbs, you would have probably saw some riot gear. This is the world that we live in, guys. It's highly weird, and we can't make it up. All right, so that's the one story we wanted to go over. And then the second story, which I thought was pretty odd, that I saw here. And if you're familiar with anything, it has to do with the occult 33. So 33 here stood out. And I said, well, what's this about? And this is a very, very bizarre story here. So suspected of overdose of synthetic pot, K2, sends 33 people to Brooklyn Hospital. So apparently, let's read the story, because I'm still a little confused on what the heck, how did 33 people just fall out or whatever happened. So 33 people suspected of overdosing on K2. It's a type of synthetic marijuana. So synthetic marijuana. So guys, if you're into the weed smoking, stay away from the synthetic. It's got a lot of, I guess it's got chemistry or whatever. It's not real plants. I don't know what it is. But they collapsed on the sidewalk in Brooklyn over an 11-hour period on Tuesday, said Detective Nasir. Now, this is interesting. 33 people collapsed over an 11-hour period. At what point, what if the first person collapsed in the first hour? Was this first person still laid out 10 hours later before, I guess, cops got there? 11-hour period is a long time. How long does it take before we notice that something's wrong and people are laid out on the sidewalk in Brooklyn? Look at that, collapsed on the sidewalk in Brooklyn over an 11-hour period. So beginning around 9:30 and lasting until 8:20 that evening, emergency medical services of the New York Fire Department picked up victims around Stockton Street in the Bedford Stuyvesant neighborhood and transported them to local hospitals. So over basically a 12-hour period, 11-hour period, we had people just dropping and falling out on the sidewalk, and all of them were smoking some synthetic marijuana. You know, this is very, very bizarre. So, including interfaith, and then went to the hospital. So, emergency calls were placed by observers of the strange scene. Now, I just want you to think about this, guys. We got movies that has, you know, talks about zombies. We got the show that's out, The Walking Dead. This is literally what we're seeing, or what they were probably seeing in this particular instance. People are just falling out from an overdose. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody OD, but that's a scary sight. They look like zombies when they are overdosing. So you got The Walking Dead passing out 33 people over an 11-hour period. I don't know if you can really imagine what that looks like if you were in that arena. So because the fire department does not test for drugs, it cannot confirm an overdose. So all 14 patients that came in yesterday have been discharged, she said. And because of the collapse, victims were lying near to each other, it was believed the suspect overdoses are related. So they're telling us that they believe that they're related, almost as if they're saying they all smoked the same drug. They all took the same drug, maybe the same batch. Maybe there was a batch, you know, that was produced that was bad, and all 33 of these people took the same batch just by coincidence, and they all happened to pass out in the same area by coincidence. Very, very odd. If I were to theorize, I would say that, man, it's more likely than not, because it is a synthetic drug, that it was dropped off into that area, and maybe there was some type of human testing going on with this synthetic drug or this new drug that's out that they call K2. Because, of course, just because it say K2 on the bag or spice on the bag, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it was. And you may not know, because if you are smoking it, you just want to get high. And you take it, maybe it was laced, maybe it had a different chemical, and now 33 people in the same area are all laid out on the sidewalk. That doesn't sound like just a bad batch to me. That sounds like someone brought a batch in and sold it all at the same time to all these different people, or maybe even gave it away as a possible test to, you know, here's whatever, my favor to you. I don't know. I got some street in me, so, you know. So what is synthetic marijuana? This is something you probably want to stay away from if it's knocking people out and causing them to pass out like a zombie. K2 or spice is often a mixture of herbs, spices, and shredded plant material sprayed or laced with various chemicals similar to THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. Sometimes it comes in a liquid form. The precise chemicals in the products are constantly changing, which can lead to unpredictable medical consequences. Probably something you want to stay away from, because you don't know what it is. But I thought it was very bizarre. 33 people just laying out, falling out on the sidewalk, 11-hour period. Just very, very bizarre things happening. Now, I won't say that this was necessarily a psyop, but I think, in my opinion, it was a testing ground for some type of scientific drug that may be coming out later or something. They wanted to see how people would respond, in my opinion. And they fell out. They passed out. Passed out like zombies, like they were overdosed. So that's the second story. And obviously right now we got a big story going on with a serial shooter stalking look at this, stalking low-income Phoenix neighborhoods. Do you ever notice that whenever there's something like that, look at this monster, oh my goodness. Whenever there's something like that, it's always targeted at the poor people. It's still the same agenda, where the rich rule over the poor, and the poor are going to have to fight for their rights. The agenda is to rule over the poor, all of the poor people. We want to keep you guys fighting. We want to keep you guys poor. And now you got a story that's talking about serial shooter. I'm not going to go over that right now. I have to do some more research into it. But I just wanted to show you a couple things that, number one, that propaganda is legal. It's okay for the government to lie to us. It's perfectly fine. And the propaganda that they use is through television, radio, internet, and social media. Also, we have the protest that shut down Minneapolis, the same place we had Castile. We're following the narrative. It was non-blacks that did this, but they are associated. They're allies of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the former leader of the Black Lives Matter movement is now the president of the NAACP in Minneapolis. You're starting to connect the dots here. What a coincidence. And then we also went over the massive overdose of 33 different people in the same area taking a synthetic drug, and 33 people laid out in almost in a coma, I'd imagine, in a suburb of the Brooklyn or Bronx. I don't think they just got a bad batch because it's just very odd for them all to be in the same area and pass out. I'm of the mindset that someone brought that into that area where, you know, smoking the K2 was prevalent, and they wanted to test and see this new strand or new string or new chemical, whatever it is they do to it, and see how people will respond. So at any rate, guys, that's gonna be my time with you guys. I hope you guys are still searching for truth. That's what I'm doing. And of course, if you notice anything from any of your stories that I shared today, feel free. This is the news, guys. This is the propaganda machine. It's the strongest, mind control machine ever invented. And it's got the minds of the people. It sways them to and fro. It's causing people to have unrest, causing people to be upset, causing people to fight. And I think that once you start to understand what it is that you're connected to, what it is that you're watching, then you'll be a lot more equipped to not get so emotionally attached to the stories that you hear. You want to look at them, see if they're real. And there's so much that goes into it. But all I ask is that you think before you react. I'm out. Catch you guys next time.